millionaire's daughter married a waiter, and what her father did when he found out left her in shock. Elena Whitmore was an 18-year-old who grew up in a luxurious mansion. Her father, Richard, was an authoritarian man who cared only about power and increasing his fortune. He controlled Eleanor in everything, even her choice of clothes. She was like a prisoner in that house, always under his watch. The only place she was still allowed to go was to her father's restaurants. One day, Richard ordered his housekeeper to call Eleanor to his office. She was on the verge of a breakdown as she walked down the hallway. Whenever Richard summoned her, it meant he wanted her to do something against her will. "Come in, Elena." His voice was firm on the other side of the door, so controlled it seemed to cut through the air. She entered, swallowing the tension that grew with every step. Richard sat in his usual spot behind a massive mahogany desk that nearly swallowed him whole. In front of him, stacks of documents, files, and contracts were arranged with strict precision, a physical testament to the empire he had built and was so proud of. His calculating eyes examined her with the same coldness he reserved for his most compliant executives. "Father, you wanted to see me?" she asked cautiously, her voice barely above a whisper. Richard nodded. "Elena, you will marry Adrian Hale in 2 weeks. With this marriage, you will cement an alliance that benefits both our families. It is a strategic decision, one that represents legacy and immense power for all of us." Eleanor stared at him, trying to stay calm while processing what she had just heard. She already knew Adrian, an ambitious man focused solely on his status. To Richard, he was perfect, a wealthy heir who believed alliances were built on money and influence, not feelings. "Father, I don't love Adrian. I barely know him. How can I marry someone I don't love?" Eleanor's voice trembled as she held back tears. "Feelings are a dispensable luxury, Elena." Richard cut her off with a rigid tone. "The love you believe in is a fantasy. You've had everything: education, comfort, access to the best life has to offer. It's time you repay that." A crushing weight settled in her chest. It wasn't the first time he reminded her that her life, in his eyes, was a favor, but this time he was demanding payment in a currency she couldn't give. He didn't look like her father. He looked like a ruthless businessman, incapable of seeing her as his daughter. "I can't do this," she whispered, the words slipping out before she could stop them. "If you can't do this, then you can't be a Whitmore," Richard said, his voice like a judge's gavel. "If you continue with this idea, you'll be disinherited and left with nothing. Everything you have, everything you are, is because of me. Remember that. The world outside this house is not kind." Stunned and shaken, Elena left the office. She needed space, so she went to her father's restaurant, the only place she was free to visit. She chose a table in the back, away from curious eyes. As she sat down, she noticed a waiter watching her. He was tall, with brown hair and an attentive gaze. He wore a simple uniform, but there was something about him, an ease and confidence that drew her in. He approached with a discreet smile. "Good evening, Miss Whitmore," he said calmly. "My name is Evan. How can I help you tonight?" Evan's tone wasn't submissive like so many others who served her. It felt genuine. Eleanor, so used to people who saw only her last name, felt curiosity stir within her. "Just water," she replied, trying to steady herself after the chaos of the day. When he returned with her drink, he lingered for a moment. "I hope everything is all right, Miss Whitmore. It's unusual to see you here alone. Is there anything I can do to help?" The unexpected offer caught her off guard. For a moment, she wanted to open up about her argument with her father, about feeling trapped, but she held back. Still, she felt compelled to speak. "Actually, yes," she began hesitantly. "Today was a tough day." It was the first time she'd said that to anyone outside her closed circle. Evan simply nodded, encouraging her to continue. His presence felt safe, something rare in Elena's world. "Sometimes I feel like my life was planned out in every detail," she admitted. "Like everything is already decided, and nothing I do really matters." Evan listened quietly, without interrupting. When he finally spoke, it was gentle. "People forget they're more than the plans others make for them. It might not be easy, but there's always a choice, even if it's just what you'll do today." His simple words touched her deeply. From that day on, Elena couldn't stop thinking about Evan. She found reasons to return to the restaurant, always choosing quieter times so she wouldn't raise suspicion. Their conversations grew more personal. Evan told her about his modest upbringing, helping his mother, and dreaming of opening a small restaurant someday. Eleanor was drawn to his honesty, his determination, and the way he treated her as a person, not a strategic asset. But she knew if her father ever found out, he would tear them apart. One afternoon, Evan finally asked the question she'd been avoiding. "Elena, why do you come here alone? What are you looking for?" She hesitated, then softly, "You're the first person I've really talked to in a long time. With you, I can just be Elena." Evan smiled gently. "To me, you'll always just be Elena." Her heart raced. Their secret meetings became her lifeline. They walked through hidden parks, visited markets, and once spent hours in an old bookstore. Elena felt alive, truly alive, with him. One day she confessed, "My father wants me to marry someone I don't love, Adrian Hale. To him it's just a business deal." Evan's expression hardened. "No one should force you into something like that. You have the right to make your own choices." His words echoed inside her for days. Then came the announcement of her engagement party. She felt like she was being sentenced. That night, unable to bear it anymore, she sent Evan a message. "Please meet me today. I need you." They met in a quiet park. He opened his arms and she ran to him. "I can't do this anymore," she whispered. "My father already set the date. I feel like I'm trapped in a cell." "Elena," Evan said softly, "forget what he wants. What do you want?" The question hit her like lightning. For the first time, she allowed herself to speak her truth. "I want to choose. I want a life where I can say no, where I can be with someone I love, someone like you." Evan took her hand in his. "Then come with me. I can't promise an easy life, but I'll never force you into anything. You'll be free." Something broke inside her, the final chain. "Then, let's get married," she whispered. "Tonight, before he can lock me in for good." Evan's eyes widened, but only for a moment. Then he cupped her face, smiling with unwavering conviction. "Then that's what we'll do. I'm with you, no matter what." The decision was so bold, it made Eleanor tremble, but fear didn't stop her. With courage fueled by years of control and submission, Eleanor and Evan headed together to a small chapel on the outskirts of town, where Evan knew a pastor who performed quiet ceremonies. With every mile they drove, Eleanor felt farther from the Whitmore mansion and everything her father represented. The heavy weight that had once suffocated her began to lift. The chapel was modest, almost invisible compared to the luxury she was used to, but to Elena it represented freedom so real she could hardly hold back her tears. That night, under the soft glow of stained glass windows, she became Eleanor Carter. In that moment, she felt as if every chain that had held her down had finally broken. After the brief ceremony, they walked out as husband and wife, and Elena felt reborn. For the first time, her life was truly her own. She knew her father wouldn't take the news easily, but that no longer mattered. As terrifying as the future was, she knew she could face it with someone who saw her for who she really was. There, under the night sky with Evan by her side, Eleanor took a deep breath and savored the air of freedom. Richard Whitmore's reaction. The news hit Richard Whitmore like a public humiliation. Finding out that Eleanor had secretly married a waiter ignited a rage so intense he could barely think. To him, it was an unforgivable betrayal. The Whitmore heir, married to a man without money, without status, without strategic value. His daughter, the key to his expansion of power, now tied to a nobody who threatened to disgrace his legacy. Richard summoned Elena to his office, but this time it felt more like a courtroom than a family meeting. He stood behind his desk, rigid as stone, his eyes burning with fury. "I hope you understand the humiliation you've caused me," he began, his voice low and venomous. "Marrying an employee, someone of no value, in secret. Is this what you consider courage, Elena?" She tried to hold her ground. "Father, I didn't marry Evan to humiliate you. I married him because I love him. Because for once, I chose something for myself." Richard let out a bitter smile, full of disdain. "You think love will sustain you, that this feeling is enough?" He leaned closer, his words sharp as knives. "Fine, Since you're so sure of it, let's see how much this love can withstand. I'll make sure every step you and your husband take together is a living hell." Eleanor felt her stomach drop but forced herself to keep her voice steady. "You can take everything, Father, but it won't make me give up." Richard laughed coldly. "Take everything? Elena, you don't even know what that means, but you will." Richard's revenge. Richard moved quickly. He first fired Evan from the restaurant, a place he had purchased solely so he could remove him. "It's okay," Evan said, trying to comfort Elena. "We'll find another way." But every new job Evan found mysteriously collapsed. A cafe shut down for legal issues. A small shop suddenly restructured. A warehouse ended his contract abruptly. Richard's shadow followed them like a curse. Their savings drained. Their apartment lease was terminated. Their future threatened at every step. For the first time, Evan looked exhausted, almost broken. "Elena, I don't know how much longer we can fight him," he whispered. She hugged him tightly. "We'll find a way. He won't break us." A plan to escape with their savings nearly gone, they moved to a distant neighborhood, renting a single small room in a shared house. It was nothing like Eleanor's former life of luxury, but with Evan beside her, she finally felt close to freedom. Money was tight. They took odd cleaning jobs, small deliveries, anything to get by. But Richard always found a way to interfere. One night, Evan said quietly, "What if we moved to another city?" Eleanor hesitated. "Do you think that would help? He has connections everywhere." "I know," Evan answered, "but we can't stay here waiting for the next attack. We need a place where he can't reach us." He squeezed her hand. "I'll do whatever it takes to build a life with you, far from his shadow." They made the decision that same night. Trying to start over in a small, modest town, they rented a tiny studio. Eleanor found work as a waitress. Evan worked long hours in a warehouse. For the first time in months, they felt safe, but the peace didn't last. 2 weeks later, Evan was fired again. Richard had found them. Evan slammed the studio door, furious. "He won't stop, Eleanor, no matter where we go." She felt despair clawing at her, but then something inside her hardened. "He wants to break us," she said. "He wants me to beg, but I won't." She looked into Evan's eyes. "Let's stop running. If he wants a battle, we'll give him one." Evan stared at her, surprised, then nodded. "I'm with you, whatever it takes." The legal battle. The next day, Eleanor went to a local law firm. With the help of a trustworthy attorney, she began a legal process to limit Richard's interference, even seeking a restraining order. Richard reacted violently to the summons, but Elena didn't back down, and then a breakthrough. While reviewing documents, Elena discovered strange details in one of Richard's business contracts. Her attorney investigated further and uncovered a hidden network of illegal dealings, shell companies, and tax avoidance schemes. "If this is reported," the attorney said, "your father could face serious consequences. And he knows it." For the first time, Elena had leverage. Richard finally retreats. When Richard learned that Elena had evidence that could destroy his empire, he broke. "I underestimated you," he told her bitterly, "but remember, by destroying me, you may lose any future I can still offer you." Eleanor lifted her chin. "I don't want your future. I want the one I build myself." Finally, Richard exhaled, defeated. "Fine, I'll back off." It was over. A new life. Evan soon secured a steady job and finally had the chance to show his cooking skills. Together they saved enough to open a small cafe. Their dream. In that cozy space, filled with warmth and authenticity, Elena felt truly happy. One evening, while closing up the cafe, Evan kissed her gently. "You did it, Elena. No matter what comes, we'll face it together." Tears filled her eyes. "And I couldn't have done any of it without you." A family begins. A year later, Elena discovered she was pregnant. She and Evan were overwhelmed with joy. When baby Amelia was born, she brought even more light into their lives. She had Evan's warm smile and Elena's deep eyes, a perfect blend of the love they had fought so hard to protect. To Elena's surprise, Richard visited often. He was different now, humble, remorseful, quiet. Amelia softened him, and gradually father and daughter built a new relationship based on respect instead of control. "Thank you," he told Eleanor one day, "for giving me a second chance." She smiled softly. "Thank you for choosing to be here, Dad." Peace at last years passed, and Eleanor, Evan, and Amelia built a life filled with love, safety, and freedom. The cafe thrived, and the wounds of the past finally healed. As Eleanor closed the cafe one evening, watching Amelia's bright smile, she knew every struggle had been worth it. Every sacrifice had led them here. She was finally free.